So we're going to begin. We're beginning with a discussion today. And today we have another digital event. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to start by presenting how the event is going to be, and then we'll invite our speaker, of course. So my name is Ivan Igasere. I'm in charge of marketing at Rwanda Business UK. And what we do at Rwanda Business UK is pretty much trying to promote entrepreneurship, trying to connect people, but also opening up opportunities for entrepreneurs who are the part of Rwanda and in the UK. So that means we do help people who are doing business in Rwanda, people who are doing business in the UK want to go in Rwanda and expand there, or people who are doing businesses in Rwanda who also want to learn about the market in the UK. Of course, today's discussion will be with our guests, but before I introduce to our guests, we're just going to share how the event is going to be. So it's going to start with just a Q&A with asking her to share about her business, to share about the topics she's going to share today. And then, of course, we'll get also to ask her questions within the audience. So without any further ado, I just want to present you to Meron Feleke, who's our guest today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to join Rwanda Business UK. I think I've met Michaela and yourself at London Chamber of Commerce. It was a big turnout. A lot of Africans came, which was really wonderful to see. I have been to many events, but I haven't had the opportunity to see that many interested and very keen Africans to join and to come and invest in Rwanda. So it was a really good experience and opportunity to say. Hence why I joined as a communication company. We joined Rwanda Business UK. So my name is Meron Feleke. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Impala Communication. It is a communication company specialized in social impact communications, focusing on advocacy, and that kind of really impactful social impact projects.
Of course. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mel, for being with us. Thank you for being within a Rwanda Business UK network. And it's a pleasure that you want to share about your business and also educate us about communication, which is your area. I'm just going to ask a few questions about Impala Communication, of course. Where are you based? In which countries are you operating in? And simply, how long have you been in business?
Thank you so much. A story about 12 years ago. We were based at first. We lived in Ethiopia. I mean, in the UK. From Ethiopia. I am from Ethiopia, and while living in the UK, you know how Africa is portrayed. My husband is a communication specialist. So after we had our daughters, we thought, we didn't want our kids to really subject to the negative narration that Africa is portrayed and Ethiopia is portrayed. So we want them to experience as well as share our experience and open a communication company there and start telling our stories in our own way. That's how Impala Communication established 12 years ago. We started in Ethiopia. We've worked with really big big organizations such as AU, Ethiopian Airlines, big World Bank are our clients. And that's how we started our business a long time ago. We are based both here in the UK and in Ethiopia. And as I said, focus on social. We want to use communication for positive change. We want to use communication to empower our people. That's how it started, and that's what we're doing. And we've been privileged to work with many really incredible projects.
Oh, amazing. It's so beautiful that you decided to create a communication company because you wanted to change the narrative that was already there.
Yes.
And you wanted to share your story, which is also important because sometimes it's the idea if we want our story told, it has to be told by us. So now 12 years you said. So in which countries are you currently operating in? So UK?
Yes, yeah, Ethiopia and UK. But
Yeah.
out of Ethiopia, as you know, Ethiopia is a hub for Africa, and it
Mm,
has many international organizations, including the African Union. So through African Union projects, we've been working with many African countries and really challenging, tackling or trying to tackle big initiatives such as the climate change, gender, reproductive health, all these issues, big issues, but we want to tell it in a way that really reflects our own cultural, social way, without being, being too negative and inspirational stories. That's what we're all about. And we really guide organizations that we work with to tell their story, our story that way. So we've been, although we've been based in Addis in Ethiopia, but we over the years we worked with different countries, moving around, traveling to many African countries.
No, that's amazing because I think one of our discussion today was about how do we understand corporate communication, social and behavior change, of course. And as someone who had to work in a communication agency in the narrative, also get to work with other big companies, we have a lot to learn. And my question is going to be simple as it gets. What's the difference between corporate communication and other type of communication?
Well, corporate communication is mainly about corporates, well, different communication work differently in different countries. In the UK, for example, corporates have really have proper strategy and proper department in communication. Therefore, they really focus on, they really value the communication. But if you are talking about corporates based in Ethiopia, such as in Africa, even the international organization we've worked with, um, uh, take it differently. And some of the organizations, especially the big organizations such as the African Union, again, they have communication departments, but they don't value it as much. So even when we started off 12 years ago, it was really difficult for them to understand, because communication is always misunderstood of the visual. The visual is the end product. We are thinking about the strategy, the objective. So corporates have clear objectives of where they are and where they want to be. That has to be communicated both internally and externally. Internally, because like the organization who are working within, the people who are working within the organization has to understand the value and the objective of that organization. Otherwise, they're not going to implement the work that is required. The external also has to understand, because there are various key stakeholders. So those key stakeholders has to be properly engaged, communicated, being bring on board in order for organizations to succeed. So depending on where the organization is based, also has different challenges of
Amazing.
yeah.
I like the word challenge. Let's talk about that. So, which challenge have you faced? Like between the UK and Ethiopia, where you have your market, let's say pretty much the European and African market, what has been the difference in terms of challenges when it comes to communication? If someone is watching this and they want to invest in Africa, in Ethiopia, even in Rwanda, which challenges have you seen? And my second question would be, how has Impala communication helped?
Oh, okay. The insight is the key part, because most of the time, if you type, for example, corporate communication, internal, external communication, it would give you like the step by step. But the one thing that everybody forgets is the insight. Who you want to communicate with and what you say to that specific audience matters very much. So our role is always about everybody really worry about the logos and what the shiny part of the work, or the slogans. But what we focus and what we specialize and why Impala is different, especially as a communication company working in Africa as well as here is because we understand the audience. We really try to first of all, our question is always, who are you trying to target? What are you going to say? What do you want them to do? Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to engage with you? Do you want them to buy your product or champion your product or services? Most of the time, for example, really organizations, for example, talk about the success in terms of the big money, because the West does it, we do it as well in Africa. So we talk about, we employ this much amount of people, this many amount of people, or we made this much amount of money, but they don't really talk about the impact. So the challenge for us is always to pull them back and say to them, you have to understand the audience that you're trying to reach.
Mm.
And what do you want them to understand about the organization? So most of the time, the challenge that we see, even though a lot of these organizations like put out hundreds and thousands of all these, communication assets, but they don't really know how the communities are engaging, especially for African type of audiences where, the connection is not the same. Challenge the communication, like materials are also challenged, and the way people actually understand what you're trying to tell is also another challenge. So all these challenges, so we have to understand who we're trying to target, and how we want to, and then understand what those organizations is trying to do. I think, but that takes time. So our challenge is always for them to understand these are really critical points, but we have to take time and we have to understand. But a lot of the time, they want the end product as quickly and they want to publish it as quickly. But the longer, we because a lot of the organization that we work with, we've worked with them for many years. World Bank, for example, since we established about over 10 years, we're working with them. So now, we understand what they're trying to do as well. So that way, we know how, they should be communicating, and we understand the value, and they understand the time that it takes to get what they want. So we're trying to mitigate those circumstances. That's how we overcome.
Amazing. No, thank you so much. I'm taking a lot of notes, and I do have understand the market, less assets, more community. I'm taking a few notes on that, and thank you for that.
Good.
And it's true that the markets are different. So understanding the market is important. And how has the market influenced the messaging when it comes to communication? Let's say you're working with World Bank. Of course, the World Bank operates globally, but if it goes to Africa, Ethiopia, any other country, it's going to be different. So as a company which operates globally, how does it have to adapt the message if it's going to a new audience?
Language is the key part, and understanding the community that they operate is the key part. Most of the time, for example, World Bank, their key audience or the key stakeholders are the decision makers. They don't really have direct contact with the community. Because of that, our role is always, and their materials are most of the time technical. For example, they find findings about urbanization, climate change. So those kind of findings of like 200 page, for example, of their findings has to be communicated to the decision makers so that the decision makers get that information and implement it in their community. So the way we look at it is always different depending on who we are trying to communicate with. So that technical white paper has to be reduced to, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes video on the day of the inauguration of the publication. Also different materials, like leaflets, and depending on what they require. Most of the time it's in a conference, they want to publish it. So folders, But before we get to the message part, we always have to understand who we're trying. And rare occasions where they want to reach out the community, they always tell us who they want. For example, educated communities, if they want to target where they are at, for example, Facebook, they can be, or TV. So we have to message it in that way. And then sometimes they say to us for sixth graders, kind of, communication. And then you have to also, so the language is always different. And the way you deliver the message, the actors that you're going to be using, or the faces. I love putting out beautiful faces. I don't like sad faces. I don't want to show, regardless of what we talk about, we always put beautiful faces. That's our aim.
That's so true.
Because that's how because in everything that we do, we want to, I mean, I would love for you to look at our website. It is always inspiring video. And truly, working in Africa, I think one of the things that I said to Michaela also, I want to share why, we started in Africa. We have well-educated people who live really a good life in the UK, but why we focus always and share the experience that we have and our knowledge in Africa is because they deserve it, truly. And working there is just completely different. It changes you as a person. So this is what inspires us anyways.
No, thank you so much. And
I don't know whether I am answering the question, but okay.
no, it's so far it's perfect. I'm taking lots of notes. So it's
good.
And the website is impalacommunication.com. So it's added in the chat box. You can visit the website definitely. No, thank you for sharing that. And I do have a question. So you working with World Bank, of course, that's a big organization. And let's say in Africa, there's this sort of when people, let's say people in the UK, they want to invest in Africa and they don't know where to start.
Yes.
So what would be your, let's say, 3 tips? If someone wants to go in Africa, they want to better their communication, what would be the 3 tips? Of course, let's start with a small company, not World Bank level company. Yes. What would be the 3 tips to go with?
First of all, they have to really clarify their objective. And I like when the objective is the big vision. It is to incorporate the big vision. So for example, technology company or, really factory. I want them to know what it means to open a business in Rwanda, for example, because even if they employ 10 people, imagine the kind of impact that they make. So I want from day one, even when we start speaking, I want them to realize it's not about them, it's about the community they serve. So if they start off with that, whoever company that, most of the time, as I say, we get lost in the in the shiny part, the investment, the million, the money, that kind of stuff. But we really have to focus on the people that we are serving. If we do that, we cannot get wrong. For example, big company, Nike, for example, they never tell you the kind of shoes that they're selling. They never say, our shoes does this or that. They talk about the really hard issues. They talk about, social issues. Whatever is currently going on, they head on. So when brands, regardless of the size of the company, when brands have a value, and when that value is communicated from the day-go, when they communicate the government, they want, for example, to give them, to facilitate them to open the business. When they go around and talking to people, meeting, they have to show the big vision. Their objective has to be clear, and that objective has to also say why they are there. And it should not be about the money. And most of the time, West, especially companies from the West, they feel like they come as a favor. You cannot do that, really. We get it. We can take care of ourselves. So it has to be about the people that they serve. And I think that's why I think I love Impala Communication, even though I know that I'm biased to my company, but we really, really work with organizations who have
Mm.
really vision of and also about the people.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that's why we're cooperating with Rwanda Business UK. We want to care about the people. We want to really be able to empower entrepreneurs, really have the impact. And I love
Exactly.
that you said clarity and caring about the people because those are important. And in our theme today, we're talking about the behavior change.
Yes.
What have you realized on the other side? If the company they care about the people, what do you think? How does you think it's received? Like any examples of any companies you have worked with as Impala Communication or what you have done and what has been the results in the field?
I mean, we have many, especially lately, because even us as an organization, we always have to reposition ourselves, and because of the experience that we have, we always our value proposition changes as we, mature and understand, and also reflect on the work and the impact, as you say, uh, even our work. A lot of the times we realize that our work is presented, for example, some of the work that we've done presented on the day, and then that's it. We don't want it to be that. So that's why the last, I think, 5 years, we changed also to add social and behavioral change communications. And those kind of, for example, one of the reproductive health clinic, it's one of the biggest projects that we've done in Ethiopia, and it is initially was about promoting a clinic, a, a reproductive health clinic, and it was across Ethiopia. And as you know, Ethiopia is a big country and has different regions and different languages and different cultural contexts as well. Uh, so even when they brought us on board, they understood our role to be just to produce the posters and some of the videos. But
Mm,
from day one, we said to them, what are your objectives and how are you delivering that? And I mean, they were really kind enough to involve us in the process.
mm,
And so that way, now that, first of all, the slogan became with respect and compassion. And that slogan
mm,
then became a training, because we realized that who understand that slogan. So the
mm,
person who receives them from the door
mm,
until the person who really gives them the treatment
mm,
has to understand what that means. So in that way, we also trained multidisciplinary health professionals, and in that, we produce various materials to support that, and also engaged with the community about, the health services available. So that way, we're always trying to understand
mm.
the objective,
It's true.
and then from there we take it on board. One other project that we recently worked on is ASDP, as a minority business, it's an organization supports minority businesses in Europe.
Mm,
Europe, as you know, is a big country, multiple countries,
awesome.
and minorities are labeled differently in different countries. So this project is trying to implement the same concept
Mm,
in each country. So we started off with three. So
mm,
we're starting with France, Netherlands, and Germany.
mm.
So these three countries have completely three different needs.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. But the message has to be the same, similar. So we're currently building that, and they've launched just this September, and
Mm,
we're working with them in developing tailored communication for each of the country.
mm.
So we're doing that.
No, amazing. No, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Because what we hear is that, of course, we're learning about Impala communication, but we're also learning about communication in general. So we understand having the idea to adapt your message on the market, because the markets are different. Having it to be flexible, the messaging, you said respect and compassion, how you sharing things. No, that's important. And still on communication, you said that you're open to changing as a company. So a lot of things have changed in the past few years. There is AI, there's new technologies, there's different elements. And how has communication changed? If you could tell me, like, as a company, also global trends, how has communication changed? Three examples.
Uh, Communication has changed tremendously. First of all, I think communication became so different, if you remember, during COVID.
Yeah.
So this is how we communicate. This
Yeah.
but now, we have to adapt all the time. So we have to find where our audiences are. That's why the key is always to understand where your audiences are. It
Mm.
changed, and AI, we have to adapt it. We have no other choice,
Yeah.
but also simplified our life.
Mm.
So, for example, data analysis, as I said, audience is the key
Mm.
component. Our
Yeah.
stakeholders are our audiences. So
Mm.
segmenting those audiences, understanding, analyzing each of the audience's behavior, building a persona of each audiences that we are targeting.
Mm.
Now, with with AI, we can do it easily.
Mm.
So what that is one example that I can give you. The other is, as I said, is finding ways to also keep on engaging
Mm.
in various ways.
Yeah.
Utilizing
Mm.
whatever is available. For example, Zoom. For our meeting to happen,
Mm.
it could have taken a long time. But now, because we have Zoom, we can do it quickly. So we can use that in our advantage. Although face to face would give us more, because then we can exchange cards, talk about individual projects. So it limits you in a way, but it
Mm.
also gives you quick response and listening to others. And I don't know where our audiences are from. It can be from different countries, different continents. So that has an advantage. But otherwise, the video has to be now personal. For
Yeah.
example, my third point is, you can't just talk about things anymore. You have to really think about the message, so that with all the noises, how
Yeah.
do you stand out from the crowd?
It's true.
You're authentic. You
Mm.
have to be really true.
Mm.
You have to represent your brand. That's
Mm.
how I think now stories and how you tell the stories is
Mm.
also another critical component.
No, that's very true. Thank you so much. I think I'm taking a lot of notes, and I like the idea. There's a lot of noise, so you have to be to like stand out with your tools, with the stories and you sharing. And you are into communication, of course. So I guess you get to share lots through different mediums. So you have video, you have audio, you have visuals, and other medias that you use. What do you think is more important now? So let's say when it comes to storytelling, for example, this is more communication. How do you think has the narrative changed now?
I think my team always frustrated with me, because when we think that we reached here, now I'm thinking about moving to Rwanda. So you can I'll never
Yeah.
stop moving. But yes, but I think videos. I mean, our strength also is videos, producing videos. But the videos has to be short and sharp and really effective, and has to say really. But I think we're good at that, anyways. We always push our clients to say little and be honest.
Mm.
So, but TikTok, this is the TikTok era, so
Yeah.
everyone has to move
Yeah.
all the time. So we have to find a way to engage within that seconds that we have.
Mm.
But still, video is, I think, the key component these days. Newsletters and other communication assets are also relevant,
Mm.
but nobody gives you leaflets anymore in places. But I think if you have a big impact, still materials like for example, what was it that I got? Notepads
Mm.
and charging, the power charge
Yeah.
logos, those kind of things still matter, especially big events, because
Yeah.
people can take it with them and always remember you.
Yeah.
But I think number one should be video, as well as the personal connection. I think networking and talking about your brand and your passion, I
Yeah.
think is also the most important part.
It's important because we met at the London Chamber of Commerce, of course,
Yes.
in physical events, and now we are on video. We're going ahead to the next stage. And I
Yeah.
think it's important. And I like how you talked about those are important, and storytelling is really important when it comes to that behavior communication because it's easier to communicate through stories to influence people. So if let's say Impala Communication as a company, how does it help? Like, which services do you offer if I wanted to use Impala Communication? Tell me in 30 seconds why I should.
First of all, strategy. We strategize. I think we help you in asking you questions that you've never thought of. That's why we are different. So we don't really focus on the end product as much as we focus on the strategy, first of all. And we know how to simplify and how to deliver really quickly on projects. We are quick in turning, our turning time is really quick and punchy and really effective communication materials we can produce as quickly because we understand, we listen, we take time when pre-production, we take time in understanding what you're trying to do, what you're trying to do, who you're trying to communicate with, and what do you want them to do. The end product always, because most of the time, so for example, trends, now that everybody wants to trend, but then what happens? For example, you say, so your target is by the end of the year, Rwanda business, X amount of maybe clients, and then we build, for example, we develop a video, and then that video we evaluate and adjust depending on if we are getting what we want to get. So it's for us, it's so the complete journey. We don't think about just one thing. Once we understand you, once you become our client, we are all in until we get it right.
I like that. Until we get it right. Because within communication, it takes longer than that. Because the return on investment is different in communication.
Exactly.
Sometimes the message you give now will possibly go viral in 6 months.
Exactly.
No,
So we understand all that. It's because we've been around for many years. We understand that journey. We understand it takes a long time, and it's not about the, as I said, the shiny we have to understand, first of all, understanding the audience. A lot of people miss that. And as you say, even if it goes viral, then what happened then? Still have enough people registered? That's the question we should be asking. So we keep on coming back to the main objective.
Yeah, that's very true. And I like that. Strategize and long-term planning pretty much. It's not, quick fixes. It's about the plan. Now, I do love that. And another question I do have. So I do have, of course, you can tell I have a lot of questions.
Okay, no problem.
Just picking my brain when you're sharing, and I'm more interested in that. And you have been in communication a lot of years. Your partner, you said, is in communication, and you have had your company for 12 years. And in those 12 years, my question is this: do you think the African market is ready to embrace more communication companies? Do you think if brands who are ready to invest in Africa, would you suggest them to invest in any other business?
Yes. Because like the last McKinsey report that I saw is nearly 900 million young Africa. I mean, we are the future. The resources in us, and we're not communicating. We're still telling the same story, or somebody else is telling the same story, and we are conditioned to tell that story again and again. But that's what I loved when I come to, for example, the London Chamber of Commerce, because His Excellency, when he spoke about, everybody else spoke about the achievement of Rwanda and how business are, the ease of doing business in Rwanda, that kind of stuff. But when he spoke about the things that is still missing, the things that, he said until the last young person gets the vaccination, until the last house have a light, we still have challenges. As long as we have those challenges, We need, and we continue to need communication, because that's when you insert the values that you want to insert. For example, as a country, what is the vision? You have to communicate that. As a company, what's your vision? You have to communicate that. As long as there is a business, you need communication, and as many as possible, because new market, new people, young ones, more dynamic, more incredible young people coming from, still in school, a lot of them, and they are brighter than us, because, their future is much better than us.
Yes, sure.
I think in, helping them also see Africa is the future, because we don't want them to live like we left. So that's another story for another day, but yes.
Amazing. So I have two more questions, and these are selfish questions. The first one, why the name Impala Communication? And the second question will be, when are you starting your offices in Rwanda?
Perfect question. Thank you so much. Changing the narrative of Africa was the first. So when before we think of Impala, I personally thought of, because I have my daughters, when you have daughters as a mom, you always think of, you have more responsibility. My husband's gonna kill me for saying this, but I feel like I give the big influence in them. So anyways, so when I didn't want them to grow up in the UK. I want them to grow up in Ethiopia. So so we moved. When we moved, they were so little. My younger one was nearly 3, and my older one was nearly 5. So the really the foundation period of their time, they were in Ethiopia. So when we started the company, changing the narrative of Africa was our vision.
Yes.
That's why we gave Impala is endemic animal in Africa. We have Walia in Ethiopia, but we don't want to give it only Ethiopian name. We wanted to give it African. So Impala is present in many African countries. So that's why we name it Africa.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful name, because Impala is a beautiful name, like literally, and it's so common because it's many in African parks. Like most of, if you have a park, you likely have it. It's like it's a typical African animal. That's so beautiful. And second one, offices in Rwanda.
Office in Rwanda as soon as possible. I tell you, as soon as possible. I really would love in September. I think end of September, I'm speaking to Michaela to go on a mission trip, and then from that, especially if I got project, I really want to have projects as soon as possible. So when I go to Rwanda, and me and my husband are going, so when we come to Rwanda, we want to open the business right there and then, so that it doesn't take us. And we also want to share, especially my husband, while working for Impala, he also works for BP, British Petroleum, and he is one of the top. He's Ethiopian, and he's one of the top communication specialists especially from broadcasting, the technical perspective. And I want him to share his knowledge to young. He's doing that in Ethiopia, but I want him to do that in Rwanda as well. So as soon as possible, we want to open our business.
No, that's amazing. And thank you so much. And that's why Rwanda Business UK is like the best platform for that.
Yes.
We're having the trade missions, which we're planning to go to Rwanda. We'll have to try events there. We can actually educate, because we want it to go both ways. We want people in Rwanda to get the benefits of this, but we also want people here to get benefits in Rwanda. No, thank you so much. I've had so many questions, but we're going to open up a floor for a few people who have a few questions so they can ask. I'm reading the first question, which is coming from Joshua. He said, what is one mistake do you normally see most companies commit as far as communication is concerned, and what is your advice to avoid it? One mistake that many companies commit, and how do we avoid it when it comes to communication?
So communication, a lot of the time, communication is mistaken for operational. So the companies, for example, I don't know if this person is in the UK, but UK, for example, if I give you one company, the one everybody loves is John Lewis.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
John Lewis the reason why they are successful is not because of the way they communicate only. It's because their value is inserted within the organization. You can see it as soon as you go into their business, every person you meet, you feel how you feel when you go there
Yeah.
is what matters. So a lot of organizations, the mistake that they make is they focus on various things, but mainly the visual part. But that the value has to be inserted within the organization.
Yes.
So the vision is for the external, but the mission is for the internal. What is your mission? What is your values? How those mission and values are inserted within organization, then that can be communicated, because communication cannot be operational solutions. Communication is reflecting or showing exactly what the vision is. But I think organizations has to focus on communicating internally what they're trying to do. Most of the time, communication does not go on within organizations. Everybody worry about what everybody else thinks.
That's true.
It has to start from within.
That's
Everybody has to understand. That's why I don't know. I mean, it's in a management. I think a management training. Everybody talks about when they talk about one of the American president. I think he was visiting NASA, and then the janitor who was on the floor, when he spoke to him at first, he said to him, "What do you do here?" And he said, I am part of the people who whatever developing the satellite to go to the moon. So that janitor knows what the organization vision and mission is.
It's
So
true.
unless you do it
President
internally,
Kennedy,
very
when he
difficult.
was in the NASA, yeah, it was President Kennedy, and it was like, we're putting
Exactly.
someone on the moon because
Yes,
it
exactly.
was included in it. That's very true.
Yes,
Including
so
people.
internally you have to, but a lot of organizations don't know how to communicate within. Has to be that. It has to be the most important priority.
No, that's very true. No, that's very good. And those are exact. I like that vision. We have to know which part is internal, which part is external when we're talking about communication. No, thank you so much. We're going to open the floor for a few people to ask questions. I'll start with Isaac. If you have a question to ask, Isaac, we may go to Joshua, then look at Credo and Wandy. So Isaac, if you can start with you possibly, if you have a question.
Yeah, Meron, this has been a very, very insightful conversation, and it's beautiful to. I can listen to you for another hour, 2 hours.
Oh, thank you so much. Believe it or not, this is my first time. Even when I spoke to Michaela, I was like, oh my God, but I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Isaac. I was sweating before this, so I'm
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful conversation listening, and one of the questions that had also come in is how do you guys sort of buffer the noise and distraction, especially our young people receive when trying to get real information to a lot of the fake images, messages, and everything else that gets circulated about not just Africa, just politics, life, relationships in general. How do you guys buffer with what you put out there with what's currently trending and what's not real?
Very good questions, and it is really difficult, to be honest. The more noise there is, it is becoming really difficult. But the one thing, if you, for example, I spoke about, because my daughters now are 20 and 18, so they are big girls now. And I really engage with them so that I understand how they understand, how they receive information. But I think being authentic, and I think kids are now, intelligent enough to really better than us. We are the one who's scared. They're better than us in navigating through this. I know not all of them, but they are equipping themselves based on, I'm talking about based on my daughters. And most of the time, if for example, I don't know if you have young people around you, if you ask them really not different questions, engaging questions, like what have you learned, or the same questions that you asked me, like how do you navigate through the noise? Or what do you value the most? Or what kind of information does it touch you, for example? About skincare, for example. And they tell you really the powerful stories are the one who told really well and honestly. And we shouldn't assume that they don't understand. We have to start every single time. We have to start where we want them to be, rather than trying to address situations or challenges in our own way. We have to really meet them where they are at, I think. I don't know if I make sense, but that's how I feel.
Agree with you. And it's not an easy area
It's
for
not.
themselves either, let alone for the adults who are trying to maintain where you've got several platforms of misinformation and real information coming at them at lightning speed. Um, I just want to ask any of the other attendees if they've got a question or if they've got any feedback they want to share. I certainly will be keeping a closer eye on Impala and the work that you've been doing, and be sharing the work that you have been doing with the community,
Thank you.
because like it's very easy to just go to the usual areas to get
Very,
information.
very true.
We miss out a lot of this. Is very, very, very valuable. And I certainly think it'll be worth, if you're up for it, getting you back on in probably in a few months to just speak about some of the work that you've been working on, and probably post mission when you've done you've had a few more events happening. We can listen to some more words of wisdom and how the company's going and the direction that you're looking to go.
Yeah, exactly. Especially those who really have difficulties on, communication strategies and that kind of. I would love to. We have, yeah.
Amazing. I think there's no more questions, so most people are just thankful for the conversation, which I said you shared a lot of value. That to share, of course, this section will be posted on our YouTube channel, Rwanda Business UK. We'll be sharing it on our social media. I have one more question because I just love books on my own. So before we end, which books or what would you recommend in order to continue learning more? What would you recommend? A book, a movie, a podcast, or someone to look up to so we can learn more?
You should have warned me. I should have brought it. Can I switch off my camera and bring it? So my favorite book is The New Age of Empire. He is a professor in Birmingham, University of Birmingham here in UK. He's an incredible person. Also, really would be great to invite him to Rwanda and speak about really incredible, very empowering book for us. Part of the curriculum in Africa, to be honest.
Oh, thank you so much. We're adding this in our toolkit, and thank you so much for this. Whenever there's a book to read, whenever there's something, I love it. And last question, where can we find you? Where can we find your companies? Anything you want to share with us? Any last word you want to share with the audience?
And I have forwarded everything on my on the chat box.
Yes.
I have shared my LinkedIn. Please follow me on that, and please write a recommendation if on my LinkedIn. And also the website is also up. I've sent the link, or Isaac sent the link for that. Thank you so much, Isaac, for doing that. I have also shared my personal LinkedIn, so you can connect with me, and please write a recommendation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Meron Feleke, for being with us. Thank you for sharing Impala Communication. Thank you for all the amazing work you are doing in Africa. Thank you for helping change the narrative, sharing more stories, and also helping African communities as we grow. It's been a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Thank you so much. And I'm just looking at the message. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for attending. So any questions, even after this, you can ask me anytime.
On LinkedIn at Meron Feleke. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.